too independent for radio and not handsome enough for TV, it's the Walt Bonetti Podcast.
Welcome to episode 32 of the Walt Bonetti Podcast for February 19th. The Walt Bonetti Podcast is brought to you by the Original Italian Pie of Kenner, 3600 Williams Boulevard, just a little bit north of West Esplanade. You can dine in or call them, 469-4999, and they'll have your order ready for pickup, or they will deliver it to your home or your office. On today's podcast, New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell says New Orleans isn't the wild, wild west. Really? 16 states, but not Louisiana, file a lawsuit against President Trump. Some folks want the U.S. to sell Montana to pay down our debt. A California student makes an unusual pledge if President Trump builds the border wall. And a Florida woman is assaulted by a bowl of chili. But first, these quick hits. After its impressive win at Kentucky, the LSU men's basketball team jumped from number 19 to number 13 in the AP Top 25 poll. It's LSU's highest ranking since 2009. The Tigers face the Florida Gators Wednesday night and former number 1 Tennessee Saturday afternoon. 16 states, led by California, of course, have filed a lawsuit to block President Trump's plan to build a border wall. The states contend that President Trump is overstepping and needs permission from Congress, and that his declaration of a national emergency is unconstitutional. The lawsuit claims the president is involved in, quote, an unconstitutional and unlawful scheme. 15 of the 16 states involved are led by Democratic governors. Maryland is the lone Republican-governed state involved. Louisiana is not yet a party to the lawsuit. A new NPR poll shows that 60% of those surveyed are opposed to President Trump declaring a national emergency regarding the border wall. A theme cruise based on the TV show The Golden Girls will set sail in 2020. It will depart from Miami with stops in Key West and Cozumel. Betty White is the only surviving member of the Golden Girls cast. She's 97 and still a hottie. An online petition is calling for the U.S. to sell Montana to Canada for $1 trillion. The organizer, Ian Hammond, wrote, quote, "We have too much debt, and Montana is useless. Just tell them it has beavers or something. Or something." A little over 1 million people live in Montana. A North Shore Thai restaurant, Sticky Rice, is closed, while its owner is facing charges of harboring and employing illegal aliens. 2 citizens of Thailand without proper documentation were caught at the restaurant. Well, at least we know the food was authentic Thai. I've gone into Italian restaurants in the kitchens and seen Hispanics cooking Italian dishes. Come on now. There's just something wrong about that. You don't see Italian people cooking in Mexican restaurants. Or German chefs escaping Germany to come over to America and cook Korean food. It just doesn't happen. It's just not right. It's unnatural. The entire West Bank of Jefferson Parish, except the cities of Gretna and Grand Isle, are under a boil water advisory until at least Friday. A road construction crew broke into a water main, and that dropped water pressure on the West Bank for less than a minute, and that precipitated the boil water advisory. And now this. When you're hungry and you want great food, you need to think about my friends at the Original Italian Pie of Kenner, 3600 Williams Boulevard, just a little bit north of West Esplanade. You can dine in or call them, 469-4999, and have your order ready for pickup, or they will deliver it to your home or your office. The Original Italian Pie has incredible salads, sandwiches, wraps, calzones, pasta, and pizza. You know the pizza's great. It's in their name. The Original Italian Pie of Kenner. What do you think the pie means? And don't forget, they have great appetizers as well. Stuffed mushrooms that are to die for. Hummus. And dessert. You know they have cannolis. Gotta have a cannoli. You know you have a sweet tooth. Just admit it. So whenever you're hungry, make sure you think about the original Italian Pie of Kenner. 3600 Williams Boulevard, just a little bit north of West Esplanade. Like I said, you can dine in or call them 469-4999 and they'll have your order ready for pickup or they will deliver. That's the original Italian Pie of Kenner.
Say hello to my little friend!
Walt Bonetti.
Welcome back. Thanks again for spending part of your day with the podcast. Far from being the Wild West, our city sleeps under the protection of an interconnected web of law enforcement agencies whose effectiveness is on display every day. That was part of a statement from New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell the day after 5 innocent bystanders were shot at a bus stop. Look, being a police officer is hard. Being a police officer in New Orleans is incredibly hard. Being a police officer in New Orleans where your department was gutted by the previous mayor while the current mayor sat on the city council for 8 years and let it happen is even harder. I get that. So spare us the rhetoric, Mayor Cantrell, and the meditation rooms. Stop the tourism money grab and the revolving door of criminals through the New Orleans Freedom Fund and make public safety your number one priority now. If we don't continue to market ourselves to tourists, we're going to turn off the economic engine that drives this entire region and state. And if all tourists hear day after day, especially during Mardi Gras, is that people are getting shot and killed in New Orleans, that's going to turn it off even more. People won't want to come here if they don't feel safe. And people don't feel safe in New Orleans. How can you feel safe in New Orleans? I mean, really. Let's just take a look back at this past weekend. 2 teens were shot Friday night in Broadmoor. A man was shot on Canal Street Friday night. A man was shot and killed early Saturday morning at Claiborne and Canal. A man was shot and killed in an East Riverside neighborhood early Saturday morning. A man was shot Saturday night in Little Woods. 1 man was killed and another injured Sunday afternoon in Central City. And 5 bystanders were injured waiting for a bus, and an armed robbery suspect killed in the CBD Sunday night. Yeah, maybe it's not the wild, wild west, but it sure sounds like the gunfight at the OK Corral. Oh, by the way, have we ever made any arrests in the mass shooting at the Chicken and Watermelon in July? Come on, 10 people shot, 3 people murdered, and we have no idea who the 2 gunmen were? 60 people in a parking lot? 60 possible witnesses, and all of them became Sergeant Schultz when the police arrived?
I see nothing. I know nothing.
No one cares about the interconnected web of law enforcement agencies whose effectiveness is on display every day when you can't solve crimes, especially high-profile crimes like that shooting. This mayor and this city council needs to get behind the push for public safety. Nothing else matters. Yeah, we can put up with potholes. We can put up with poor drainage. We can put up with street flooding. But we have to solve crime and the perception of crime in New Orleans. Period.
Now, the Walt Bonetti Podcast Dumbass of the Day.
A California freshman college student says he will cut off his penis if Donald Trump builds the border wall. Seth Greenberg, a student at the University of California, said, quote, "I will really do this. I feel that if he does actually build any of the wall, me removing my penis probably will bring worldwide attention to the injustice being inflicted on the Mexican people." Yeah, and the only saving grace is if President Trump does build the wall and you do remove your penis, there won't be any little Seth Greenbergs running around 10 or 20 years from now. A man was arrested in Escambia County, Florida, after he hit a woman, pulled her hair, and slapped her with a bowl of chili. The victim was in a parked car with another man when 33-year-old Gerald Jenkins approached them and asked who was in the car with her. When the victim replied that it was her boyfriend, Jenkins slapped her with the chili. He then pulled her out of the car and began hitting her. The victim's boyfriend tried to help, and Jenkins fled, only to return moments later with a large kitchen knife. The victim and her boyfriend got back in the car and fled. Jenkins was charged with battery, aggravated assault, and larceny. Larceny? I wonder what he stole. The chili? A kitchen knife? When we get more details, we will be sure to let you know. Well, that puts a wrap on today's podcast. If you have any comments, suggestions, story ideas, please email waltbradio@gmail.com. That's waltbradio@gmail.com. Please support our sponsor, the Original Italian Pie of Kenner, 3600 Williams Boulevard, just a little bit north of West Esplanade. You can call them and they'll have your order ready for pickup, 469-4999, or you can always dine in and make it a night out. As we tell you every day, please go out and be a blessing. Change someone's life today, even if it's your own. Thanks for listening.
Walt Bonetti.